So sweet. Living in this big blue world with my head up in outer space. I know I'll be A-O-A-OK. I know I'll be A-O-A-OK. When I see trouble come my way, I'll be making lemonade. I know I'll be A-O-A-OK. I know I'll be A-O-A-OK. Hey little lady, I know you're feeling crazy. All your other friends have been...
Rick Hale, how are you?
I'm good, Rick Caldwell. Welcome to Mojo Monday.
It is a great day for a Mojo Monday. You know, we've been doing these life hacks, and we're going to do a little left turn here. We're going to talk about what is Mojo, and you know, it's kind of the name of our Monday morning podcast, if you will, but inspirational messaging. Yet, I think a lot of the word Mojo means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Why don't you frame us up?
So Mojo to me, I mean, and you're right, it is different for everybody. And that's the cool part about living in the world that we live in today is you decide, you define, you frame up a good life or a life worth living and then live into it. And I think Mojo is simply having a purposeful existence. So something that gives you purpose or provides purpose, and then confidence in your plan. And then the Mojo is part of it's the inspiration to take the first step, but then confidence in what you're doing so that you stay the course long enough to take the last step.
Yeah. I think about like standing up with a little bit broader shoulders, just feeling that you're in your zone, you're in your confidence, right? You're in your, you're being your best self. And
Exactly.
I always laugh because, you know, there's a golf ball that says Mojo on it. And I always laugh when I'm playing that ball going, am I going to hit my best self golf shot when I play this ball? And it sometimes happens and sometimes doesn't. But nonetheless,
evidence is definitely hit or miss.
There you go. But I will tell you, when I read the word, it does something because it's like, hey, I need to physiologically change my body chemistry. I need to stand up straight. I need to be confident. I need to be in my zone around where we're going, right? So let's talk about that. Like you made mention that it kind of starts with purpose, right?
Sure.
So what's that mean?
Purpose just means that you're, again, doing things that add up or stack up. And it's always, you know, people sometimes think of purpose as this big overarching thing. Purpose is the little things, I think. And when you stack the little things, they become bigger things and they evolve into something that you can be proud of. That's a big thing. In fact, I've had many conversations with people who are in ruts and who are stuck. And typically it's like, I just don't have my big why, or I don't wake up feeling it, or blah, blah, and blah, blah. And you go, maybe it's not about that big why. Maybe it's about little whys stacked end to end and attached and tethered. And I mean, it's baby steps in the right direction that sort of feed your subconscious brain and allows it to roam about as a child might, feeling the joy of accomplishment.
There you go. You know, I think you're right. I think people look for that North Star, big purpose in the sky. And quite honestly, it's not that easy to find.
No.
Sometimes you got to find the little twinkle right in front of you that just is enough to get you going, right?
Well, how about this? Why is Mojo important?
Yeah, I mean, we do this every Monday, right?
We do.
And I think it's a constant reminder because we constantly get off course. We're constantly caught in our thoughts. We're constantly pulled back to living average lives. And it takes us being purposeful. It takes us living into the mojo to live big lives.
Yeah, well, and we're all mirrors. That's something I've said a million times. And you know, what's interesting too, I'll have two quick fun facts. One, we're all mirrors. So reality is you only get back what you're putting out. So if you decide Mojo is important and then you self-infuse a little bit of positivity, and again, every step you take that exhibits good energy is likely to bounce back. And it's like a refueling station. It's almost like, what's it when energy, there's no such thing as energy that's regenerative, like permanently. You know, you have to recharge, but there are your cars like today do have, you know, resistance braking that does feed back energy. It may not give you 100%, but instead of getting, you know, 80 miles, you know, on a few gallons, you might get 90 or 100. You get bonused because and so the Mojo piece of what you put out that's coming back is part of that regenerative plan. And so even self-serving, the better your energy you bring to the party and the experience into the relationships in your world, the better you're going to get feedback wise, and it's going to feed you.
Absolutely. Hence why we do it on Monday, right?
That's right.
Here's your breakfast of champions for the week. Here's our reminder that go be our best self this week. Live in our mojo this week. And really, it's just a good reminder to, hey, kick it off. Let's go.
Well, this was the second thing I was going to say. I kind of got distracted thinking about that reflective energy and regenerative. There is a term, I think it is regenerative braking. And I'm like, where did that come from? Because that was not scripted. But the other piece of it is, I don't know about you, but every time we click, end after about 15 or 20 minutes, man, I just feel this boost and this wind. And part of it is just the awareness and saying, I want to be more positive. And by sharing your thoughts, you naturally evolve into a state of better energy.
100%. I think we're like 80 episodes into Mojo Monday at this point. And I remember when we first started it going, man, we are going to run out of content. We're going to run out of things to say. What are we going to talk about? And what I realized is there's an abundance of content. There's an abundance of energy if you go find it. There's always inspiration in the world if you find the inspiration. There's always an inspirational story. There's always a message that we could talk about that translates to living our best life, right? So it's kind of fun that we do it on Monday. It's kind of fun that we've been doing this now over almost 2 years. And the amount of content that we put together on this Mojo Monday podcast is pretty impressive, I think, at this point. But it's not about the fact that we put the content together. It's the fact of, are we engaged in living our best selves? So just like you, Rick, I realize we're the ones bringing the content, but it does the same effect on me. I mean, my week is transformed by this Mojo Monday. And I got to admit, sometimes I go back and watch it.
Well, and here's the thing, we sit here and talk about things. Integrity is simply having your inside thoughts and your outside behavior aligned. And so when your inside thought says, I'm positive, I'm inspired, I like helping people, I can't wait to connect and make a difference, all of a sudden your body's going to resonate at a frequency that's a little bit different. And it's not about big, you remember back to the big why thing. It's not about one massive thing. It's little things. And when you resonate well, you tend to pick up other people's frequencies of need, opportunity, and also recognition that what you're doing is really working, and that's a big part of Mojo, is realizing that, hey, this is not in vain. It's not just because one person reflected bad energy or is having a bad day, and then you have to drag their cloud around, that dark cloud. Man, that's a temporary experience when you've got enough positivity to shake it off.
100%. It's nobody can tell you how to live your life. Nobody can tell you what your dreams are wrong, and nobody can steal your mojo unless you let them.
Ooh,
right.
Yeah.
And hold your mojo to you. It's you. It's your aura, if you will. It's your it's how you're approaching life. It's how you're approaching the world. Don't let somebody else dictate that path. Don't let somebody else tell you how to feel. Yeah.
Well, and as an example, I just had breakfast with Mike Neville, one of our agents, who's really retired it. And I'm going to guess I should know this, but I'm going to say he's somewhere in his 40s, early 40s, like young cat. And he grounded out for a decade or so in real estate, sold over 750 houses. But what was cool about it isn't that he sold 750 houses, because he'll admit there were days he was obsessive and that he was all he did is grind. But he had a purpose in that. One day he said, I'm going to retire early. I'm going to work, 10 years, and then I'm going to go serve the community in the world, and I'm going to travel and experience the world. And then, and he's doing it. He's living into that dream. I had breakfast with him. As I said, he spends 3 months a year just going on rescue and mission trips to, faraway places in need after disaster relief related. And then he spends 3 months just having fun, going places that intrigue him. And he said something really cool. He says, yeah, I planted all the right seeds, followed the models and systems so that I had, confidence in my plan. And I had a plan, which was the MREA. He hung out with a lot of top producers and learned a lot, built a team, executed, sold his team, and sold his book of business, which created residual income. And now he's doing exactly what he wants. And to me, that's mojo. It's not whether you grind or don't grind, it's that you're doing it for a purposeful reason. And he clearly had a purposeful reason. And now, honestly, at breakfast, my challenge to him was, you need to write a book on how, things, experiences over things, but you've got to have things in terms of monetary capacity to go have those experiences. You can't, I don't know many people that are, dirt poor and broke that actually can afford themselves the experience that he has for his life. But it was by design and by plan, which by definition should create some synergy in mojo in itself. So, do you have confidence in your plan? Do you have a plan? Do you have a purpose statement? Even as far down the road as, what does your eulogy look like? And I know that's a long, long, long way from, hopefully many, 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 many years. But if you don't start planting seeds today, you're going to wake up 10, 15, 20 years and kind of be standing in the same field with the same experience and the same outcome.
Yep. And then the third thing is really relationships matter, right? Like, we build communities around us. We live inside of villages, right? And the thing is we've always heard, hey, you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most of your time with, right? And when it comes to mojo, relationships around us is really important. It's really not empowering if you have a mojo and there's no light shining from you affecting others, or better yet, somebody else has mojo and their light's affecting yours in a good way, right? Like, so that's really where these relationships come in. I tend to think of relationships as an accountability thing, but honestly, relationships can be environmental, right? It can be the environment in which we live our lives, the people around us, right?
Yeah, I mean, are the people around you providing, wind in your sails and pushing you forward, or are you dragging anchors? And again, sometimes relationships are just inherently, you can't shake them. I mean, they're part of life. If you have a kid that's got challenges and is in a stage of life that's just creating friction, you got to deal with it. But I will say, the more you pour in, the better the possible reflective energy. Typically, the good thing, my dad used to say this, the best news in the world is all things change, good and bad. Like, nothing lasts forever. And of course, at the time we were living in New England, he's like, New England weather, it changes every but life doesn't always change that fast. But the good news is, if you're feeling down and out, or you're challenged by something, the odds are, if you chip away at it long enough, it goes away sooner than you think. And the less time you focus on the negative impact, the more time you focus on either a silver lining or a benefit in having survived and thrived. Or maybe it's just your ability to coach, consult, and help someone else who's down the road will be in a position like yours. I mean, to me, that's a purpose statement worth living into.
Absolutely. And that speaks to the village, right? Like,
it does.
We don't necessarily just move into the community or move into the village. We create them. And
True.
we purposefully build the relationships around us that we want. Isn't that what you want for your kids? And you're like, I don't want you hanging out with them. I don't want them in your village. That's a bad mojo. Let's go hang out with these people because they bring good mojo to your life. We should take the same advice we would give our kids as adults to ourselves, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Back to the point of saying, there's certain relationships you're locked into that you just have to contend with and work slowly and steadily to improve and make the best they can be. And the more you give, the more you get. But then there's the capacity to also augment your world by simply encouraging relationships into your world that are, pluses, and that really naturally are lifters instead of leaners, as Sean used to say. And so, yeah, I think you can, dilute the negativity with positivity and net positive, if you will. And 100%. That's choice, not chance. I mean, you've got to strategically go find those people, whether they're in a working environment or friendship or mentorship or, a community or a club or a purpose. Maybe it's even a nonprofit where really holistically kind, giving, caring people show up.
There you go. Well, Rick, mojo. It's a goofy little word, but honestly, it's the energy we emit. It's the energy we receive. It's the sun, right?
There you go, man. If it's to be, why not me? Make that your slogan today. If it's to be, why not me? And then fill in the gap of the be, have, and do. What would you want to be, have, or do? And if you could script anything you want, and just, again, one small step. in the right direction.
Live in your best mojo, guys.
Yeah, man. Mojo Mondays.
Let me change your mind with my little old saying. What? 2, 4, 6, 8. Who do we appreciate? Put some sugar in my water, cause we making Minute Maid. Forget all the hate. Do a shimmy shake. Put the pedal to the metal on the interstate. Living in this big blue world. With my head
All
up
right.
and out of space.
Mojo Monday.
I know I'll be